So the theme of discussion is what is Bharat and how is she distinct to India? I think so. Like Shefali ji and Sanjeev sir mentioned, uh, India. Which India are we talking about? Are we talking about an India which, well, 1950 constitutionally defined a union of states, or like Sanjeev sir said, Bharat as Bharat Varsh between Drishadwati and Saraswati River? Well, both these concepts are right, and of course, both of them define a geographical or a territorial space. But when I talk about territorial space, this area, Indian plate, I would say, is not 10,000 or 20,000, 50 or well 50,000 years old. It's not. I think from a geological perspective, it's at least a 250 million years old. Back in the day, we talk about a supercontinent that goes by the name of Gondwanaland. Gond is the word. The name is taken from Gond tribes in India, in the central part of India. Now, Gondwana land developed fissures, and those fissures around 250 million years old ago, and it separated. And from there, we have a tectonic plate called Indian plate. Now, this Indian plate started moving north and northeastwards, ultimately crashing with Eurasian plate, giving rise to Himalayas, succumbing the entire Tethys Sea, giving rise to Deccan Plateau while on its way, and of course later through Gangetic Ganga plain developed, and of course Saraswati and the Rajasthan desert and all these places, and of course with the tilting of Deccan Plateau, all these things happened. Now, why is it important? It's because the entire geographical space developed some climate patterns, developed monsoonal patterns, developed certain vegetation, and all these things ultimately led to development of a culture which was specific to India. Now, while I talk about it, it's important, like through history, it's important we check about certain ancient Indic or education traditions in India. In ancient India, we had a lot of universities flourishing throughout India: Nalanda, Takshila, Vikramshila, and all of them had a unique culture, their own sources of revenue, different studies, be it on economics or religion or philosophies. All these were happening throughout India, and these were quite connected to each other as well. Scholars used to come from abroad, research in diverse subjects used to happen. And of course, in medieval India, with the coming in of Islamic invasions and a few translators, and later they'll call them narrators or historians, uh, we had a certain demolishing of ancient traditions and ancient education systems. Now, of course, in modern India, we talk about how British did the magic and they poured wrath on we Indians. But post independence, we do not have we started, or the government and power started pushing certain ideologies. And while talked about it before, traditions, ancient knowledges, ancient practices were not taught or have not been taught in Indian education curricula. So that I think is very important. And for the same reason, I think a lot of people don't know about River Saraswati. Now, to answer the second question of this debate, like what is the practical value of Bharat and timeless wisdom in our daily lives, I think we are living in a time where artificial intelligence is not the present, is not the future; it's the present. It's taken over our lives, and it's going to lead to. I think Sanjeev sir will agree to it. It's going to take away a lot of jobs, and we as Indians in a society, we have to develop certain practices, certain values, where we start realizing about ancient traditions in order to sustain this life, this tradition, this culture that we are developing and staying on in this very society. And for that to happen, we need to look back to our roots. We have to read much about our philosophies. We have to look back into the nature. We have to read more about the sacred groves. We have to know about the forest. Back in the day, we used to pray. All these, we had deities in the form of, we used to pray our trees, we used to pray our rivers. Now, all these things are going to bring value to our lives. And I think that culture needs to be brought back. In fact, if anyone talks about how we as daily Indians, so talked about how while bathing we uh, जाप किया जाता है. Of course, in other ways as well, in other daily practices as well, we in a way bring a certain sense of our own dharmic ancient Indian practices. And that is very relevant. And if anyone, any Indian, or in fact the world could learn much from it. And of course, while we talk about this, we do talk about how West has commodified everything, be it education, be it yoga, be it anything else. It's time we take back those traditions and we present them in our way. We flourish them, we prosper them, and prosper the society using all those techniques and traditions. I think that is very important in this.